Tenancy refers to the use of the landlord's landed property by the tenant on agreement for a fixed duration and for the consideration of the payment of an agreed rent. Now, a tenancy, also known as rent, is the agreed use of the property of the landlord for a period not exceeding 3 years, and while a lease, on the other hand, is the agreed use of the landed property of the landlord by the tenant for a period exceeding 3 years, but not more than 99 years, according to the section 47 of the Lagos State Tenancy Law 2011. It is significant to state that, with the exception of a few selected places including Ikoyi, Victoria Island, Apapa, and Ikeja GRA, a landlord is not permitted to receive rent beyond a year in accordance with the aforementioned Lagos State Tenancy Law 2011. After an agreement concerning the rent due and other ancillary concerns has been reached by both the landlord and the tenant, the following are the right under the law to a tenant: the right to privacy free from unjustified landlord intervention, the right to enjoy the premises in peace and quiet, the right to exclusive possession of the property subject to the landlord's limited power of inspection, the right to be served a quick notice and proper time given before ejection can be effected, the right to be served court processes in relation to the use of the property and tenancy matters. Additionally, the tenant is permitted to use shared areas for legitimate, reasonable uses as agreed under the property agreement. As with the tenants, the landlord has some right under the law with regards to the tenancy. These are the right to payment of rent due, the right to repossession of the property of expiration of the rent, the right to inspection of the property at agreed time with the tenant, the right to sell the property as he has ownership right even during the pendency of the tenancy or lease, right to sue for damages done to the property, not reasonable wear and tear. It should be noted that giving a quick notice is an unalienable right of the landlord as long as the tenant is given sufficient notice. A landlord has the right to evict them from his property. However, a tenant may be evicted for reasons other than non-payment of rent. If a tenant violates any of the terms of the rental agreement, uses the property for unlawful purposes, causes a nuisance, or abandons the rented space, they may be removed from the property. A tenant cannot be removed from their home without first receiving a notice to vacate from their landlord. This notice serves as a deadline that must be met before an eviction proceeding can be started against the tenant. In the event that there is no agreement between the landlord and the tenant, Section 13 of the Lagos State Tenancy Law specifies the amount of notice that must be given. For monthly tenancies, this is 1 month notice. For half-yearly tenancies, it is 3 months notice, and for annual tenancies, it is 6 months. Remarkably, one of the most important aspects of a tenancy agreement is that it typically has a set duration, which eliminates the need to give a renter further notice to vacate. According to Lagos State's tenancy law, if a tenancy duration is specified in an agreement, the rent would only be brought to an end by the passage of time. In the event that the tenant fails to vacate the rented apartment 7 days after the expiration of the rent, the landlord is automatically entitled to issue a notice to quit the tenant that it intends to recover the premises, and an action for recovery of the premises will be taken in court. If the parties, however, have a specific provision which relates to duration of time for recovery of premises after the expiration of the rent in the tenancy agreement, such agreement will override the provisions of the law as stated above.